Hi everyone. In this video, I want to introduce you to Protektant, which is a software tool released by Traditional Knowledge Inc. that empowers Indigenous users and Indigenous governments in collecting, storing, and reporting traditional knowledge for traditional land use studies. Protektant empowers all Indigenous people and Indigenous governments by allowing them to record traditional and ecological knowledge, which we refer to as tech, and then storing that information securely in the cloud, and then later retrieving that information to generate dynamic, high-resolution, real-time traditional land use studies. In this video, we're looking at the mobile app portion of the system, which is specifically used for the recording, validation, and location of existing tech in the field, and I will be explaining each of those concepts in more detail as we go on. Every Indigenous person now has a voice in the consultation process, and Indigenous governments now have a platform to create reports, control access, and commercially license their community's traditional knowledge to proponents through a project's life cycle in a self-determined, respectful, and non-invasive way. So we're going to use the built-in tutorial feature of the application to learn a little more about the mobile application. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the high-level functions as presented through the application's dashboard. The first question to answer is, what is a tech? It's a term that we use a lot throughout our system and our documentation. So, in essence, a tech is a record of one matter or entry of an Indigenous user's traditional knowledge. In the system, each tech has GPS coordinates associated with it, a photo, a description, privacy settings, and then optionally media files like audio, video, and documents to enhance the text description. Each tech is linked to an Indigenous user's profile and an Indigenous community. So we're now going to start looking at the dashboard of the Protektant mobile app. To create a tech, a user simply needs to press the Capture Tech button to get started. Another feature is the record path functionality. So a user would press this button to record a path, and a path is a special kind of tech that shows where the user has traveled. So it's essentially a series of sequential GPS coordinates. This feature can be very useful to record things like trails, waterways, and perimeters of sites. Protektant has an offline mode when an internet connection is not available. This is important because when an internet connection is available, users can instantly store their tech records in the cloud. But as is often the case, an internet connection will not be available out in the field, and so we built in capabilities to support that use case. So Protektant has the capacity to store tech locally on the mobile device until an internet connection becomes available. And the button that you see here, Unsubmitted Text, is the button that you would press to access those tech records which you have yet to submit because of the lack of the internet connection. A user would press the Unsubmitted Tech button to view the texts not yet saved to the cloud, and as well to order them to be saved to the cloud when that connection becomes present. By pressing the Search Text button, a user can see a map which is localized around the user and all of the texts which have been made available to that user. Now, I will remind you that there are privacy controls, so a user will not necessarily be able to see every tech in our system, but only the ones that have been set for their consumption. So this feature can be used as well in the context of finding and marking favorite texts, and that will become important, as you will see shortly, in the context of what's known as validation. So Protektant supports, optionally, third-party expert validation of existing tech records. And this is intended for activities like historical research, perhaps in the context of litigation. The idea being that Indigenous users can go out and create tech records, but then if there is any requirement or need for third parties such as academics or historical researchers or whomever, they have the capability to go out into the field, physically locate the different sites where tech is identified on the map, and then perform whatever validation or analysis they need to perform. And again, this feature is important because many tech we anticipate will not be located in range of a cellular network. So the ability to upload tech records and then store them locally on the mobile device is critical for anybody who's performing research validation type functions to go out into the field and do this. Press the favorites or save tech button that you see here to access the stored favorites texts that are locally stored on the phone. To perform a keyword search of all the texts that are stored in the system and that have a privacy setting that make them available to the user, one simply needs to press the magnifying glass button located here. To access the application's general menu, where you can edit system settings or browse your user profile, press this button marked with a gear icon.